Hello again, sorry about that brief delay. Here today in the Tier 9 Soviet Tech Tree battleship, the Sovetsky Soyuz. We're on the map Warrior's Path, and the mode is Domination. We are top tier in 7 to 9 matchmaking. We are, however, against an Enterprise in a carrier game, which is a bit of a pity. We are the only Tier 9 battleship, so a bit of sparse matchmaking. In terms of the Tier 9s, looks like it's just myself and the Lion. Oh no, there's a Buffalo in Alaska. So this is the new improved matchmaker on patch 0.8.7, which we are currently playing on. Now the Soviet juggernauts have now been in the game for a fair amount of time. I've ground my way up. From the Sinop upward, I have plenty of playtime. Played a bit of Pietro Veliki. Skipped out on the Ismail, didn't find her to be all too pleasant, and I did earn the Sinop, or Sin-OP as she has been nicknamed, in a crate. But nevertheless, I have a fair amount of experience now. Vladivostok, Sin-OP, and Sovetsky Soyuz are all quite similar. All three share the 3x3 setup, 2 triples in the front, and 1 in the back, and the same caliber, the Soviet 406mm heavy gun. Now, the Soviet battleships, I'm sure if you are following this game, you're already aware of the general characteristics, but just for a brief overview. Extremely heavily armored, including 60mm midsection and very, very thick belt, which makes them extremely HE resistant. They're essentially vulnerable to HE only in the superstructure and the very upper stern and upper bow, which is 32mm like all high-tier battleships in terms of extremities. They have powerful guns with probably average to slightly below average dispersion at long ranges, and an overall short range. Note my 19.4 kilometer range, which is on the short side. But inside of 15 kilometers, they have average to above average performance, and then as the range creeps downward, they get more and more accurate, coming up to some quite ridiculous performances at close range. This gives them an impressive bite at close ranges because of the heavy armor, combined with accurate guns of large caliber, mean that they're extremely lethal at close ranges. Now this York is giving me broadside and slowly reversing, so hopefully I can give you a nice idea of that nice tight dispersion. Alright, not the greatest, only 4 shells. Alright, turning my turrets. Note the turret reverse on the high tier Soviet battleships, so that's Sovetsky Soyuz and her big sister Kreml, is actually extremely fast for a battleship. This is the turret reverse without expert marksman. You saw I was easily able to stay on track with the Jervis, which almost assuredly torpedoed me. Nevertheless, I'm going to take my pot shot here on the Mahan. 2 overpens, not shabby at all. Now I am missing a bit of support. I do want some support before I push into 2 destroyers. I am a very heavily armored and high HP battleship, but that's not going to mean very much if I just eat torpedoes from the destroyer. Now the Jervis exits his smoke, his short duration smoke is probably fading. Nice tight cluster, my fucking god, 7,500 damage, BBAP is a meme. So you can see at close ranges, nice tight clusters. Now I'm reversing, trying to greed out for my last gun, and I've been set on fire. Now with fires in mind, I'm going to use my damage control. So I have the Soviet damage control. This is a slightly nerfed version of the consumable found on the Oktoberskaya Revolutsiya, the Tier 5 preview Russian battleship that has been available in the armory for some time for coal. So it has a 10-second action time and a 36-second cooldown. However, in exchange for this short cooldown, it does have limited uses. It comes with 3 charges stock, 1 more with premium consumables. Sorry, I need to shoot this Le Terrible, who Okay, I'm not sure whose torps those. Okay, those are definitely not his. His are on the way, I'm sure. He appears to have missed one of his triple sets, in spite of me being basically in front of him. I'm gonna eat this flood. It's fine. If he turns, he has another torpedo still, so I do need to be careful of that. But I'm gonna punish him at close range again with that nice dispersion as he turns out. Another 5k chunk, please finish him. You saw there, I ate a flood and I ate a fire from the line. Immediate damage control, even though I used it very recently due to the 36-second cooldown. I'm gonna try and finish him, keeping my very, very well armored bow facing the rest of the enemy team. He's moving at speed, as all French battleships do, or French destroyers, but my shells aren't particularly slow. And that'll dispatch him. Nice way to show off the improved Russian damage control. Again, I'm set on fire twice, so I'm going to pull out my damage control. Very annoying. But now, with most of the destroyers removed, other than the Mahan, I would really like some support to push in. I really don't know what's going on. The Lion got the Citadel change in 8.6, which means this should be quite a punishing blow. You'll note the extremely powerful and punishing penetration. Twin Citadels here. My team is a bit put down here, but there's nothing I can do about that. The York reversing out. I am in torpedo range now. 6-kilometer torpedoes on the York. Don't know what he's doing. Note the nice tight dispersion, however the shells go low and overpen. Helena appears to be poking out. I'm moving away from the Mahan and pushing into the cap. There's a battleship beside us, but there's nothing I can do about that. We push past the Helena's, or sorry, the York's torpedoes, and we're gonna push out to the Helena. Note I'm taking small amounts of superstructure damage from the Mahan. Now I'm gonna angle. Even though I have a very thick belt, I do have a raised citadel. I'm gonna outspeed most of those Mahan torps. This guy's giving full broadside to me because he is an idiot, so he should die. Nice, consistent, and powerful shells on the Soviets. Training my guns for the Mahan. He's gonna continue to reset me. My teammates are gonna continue to not be very good. I may have to encourage them with some loud noises. The Enterprise is likely to pick me off. I'm not careful. Don't expect those shells to hit, unless he really slows down. But you'll note they were pretty close. Russians have pretty good shell velocities. Enterprise, coming in with torpedo bombers to disrupt the cap. He won't kill me, but he will disrupt his cap, which is extremely annoying. Note my use of the new AA sector system. I am looking away from the Mahan. He dropped his torpedoes into the ground, but because of my foolishness, I have managed to vector myself onto a rock. I'm gonna turn my rear turret. I'm hoping I finish the cap before the torpedoes connect with me. Looks like the Enterprise player isn't very good. Now, because of my poor positioning and beaching, I am slowed down. Note that we're down points even though we're up ships. My teammates are continuing to not be very useful. There are torpedoes behind me, but they did range out. Gonna use my sector again. However, these AP bombers are liable to hurt. I am going to have to turn away from the cap in spite of the points, because I don't want to eat shit. The Enterprise dive bomber does up to 30,000, and I really don't want to take 30,000 damage. 5,000, so only penetrations, or maybe one citadel and one penetration. Each Enterprise citadel does 5k, and he drops 6 bombs. He hits me again. Resector, let's see if I can snipe some of the planes. Nope. That's fine. My teammate's continuing to be exceptionally not that helpful. My flint desperately clinging to life. We need these caps. There's 9 minutes left, so we can flip this game around with cap advantage, but every second that ticks by with them holding cap advantage is a second that the game slips away. At least we're ticking a cap now, thanks to me taking one, but our teammates have put us in quite the deficit. Gonna pop a fighter again. Just pop it immediately when you see it. No point holding it. Use my sector. Turn in towards the cap, and in this case towards the Enterprise torpedo bombers. He is attacking the Buffalo, but that is fine. Even if it just dissuades him from attacking me, this is perfectly fine in my books. My Kaga is on the run from an Alaska. I can't really do anything because of the way in which I ended up pushing into the cap. I do have a heal available and HP to heal, but I'm going to hold on to it for as long as possible. Note that you saw the new AA system, where you pick a side, you need to just look and press your AA key. For me, I've rebounded to G, but for most of you it'll be tilde or P. Or not P, actually, it'll be O. P is turn AA guns on and off. I also have that on a different hotkey as well. So I'm looking at the dive bombers. I press G in my case. You note it does a small burst of damage and then AA ramps up. And now this side is sectored as before. So I'm a battleship, so it'll be 125 and 25. He's on my weak side now, so you'll see the white numbers of just base AA damage. When it's reinforced, you'll see red numbers. All the way into A, please. A. We're going to need every cap, and we're going to need some time. However, as they've chased onto the map border, I can't exactly shoot them. A weakness of the Soviets is short range. There's no one spawning for me either, so I sectored. Note that the numbers begin red. Just go straight. So, I've been typing out the game plan. I need my Buffalo to go into A without eating AP dive bombers, which this time he should dodge. If he gets struck unluckily here, he'll die. There's nothing I can do about that. It's in God's hands now. He needs to get into A. Note the points are still ticking. Alaska's in my gun range now, but because of the Cyclone, a fun and engaging mechanic, I cannot see either Helena or Alaska. Killing either of them would buy me time. I'm turning my turrets. I should probably pop my heal if I'm going to take an engagement. The Cyclone is now passing. Cap. So I have been detected. I don't have concealment expert on my Russian battleships. Okay, they're not particularly high health. Into the cap, please. Okay, so it looks like the Alaska is actually gonna pass through without me being able to shoot him. He is broadside. So I'm gonna elect to shoot the Helena. Squishier. As long as they don't both die, we'll be fine. Oh, clipped my rare shells. However, he's nice and fully broadside. Overpens only, that is fine. Gonna pop my heal because I am gonna be fighting now. I still have my will to win passive. I am running Kuznetsov, the legendary commander. And because I don't want to take a 2 versus 1, I'm gonna slow down here. The Alaska has 27 millimeters of plating and fairly thick side armor, but I am a battleship, and I don't care. And I have Soviet dispersion, which means I can aim for his superstructure fairly easily. You saw that nice 15,000 chunk. My teammates secure the cap. Aiming up because he is moving away. Now I don't want to ignore this quote-unquote light cruiser forever. I know that I did not quite finish the Alaska, which is unfortunate. Him holding an angle is actually better for me. He's so thinly armored that my shells are liable to overpen him when he's full broadside, as you saw in the earlier example. Facing my bow, the Alaska, just aiming for upper areas. No, I still have will to win, so as long as I don't take 10k in burst damage, I'll be fine. I am under angled right now, but he did switch to HE. Probably a mistake. Commendations to my Kaga for managing to run out. This is partially assisted by the Kaga's excellent concealment rating for a carrier of 9.9, so I'm sure that definitely played a factor. I have my last heal, but I also have the will to win. We'll see what he shoots. If he shoots AP, I might have to pop it mid-salvo. Okay, HE. There's no way he does 10,000 HE damage to my saturated structure. Bit underled there. Dispersion did kindly give me an extra penetration, which I really didn't deserve. We've caught up, but note that they're still actually ahead of us in points right now, even after a kill. There's my will to win going off, so getting a nice heal. My Kaga assisting me in the kill, and that cleans up the game. At this point, even if the Enterprise kills one of them, we have enough of a point gap. It won't end the game immediately, and we should catch back up with the 3 caps ticking. Now this game I haven't played. I did play a central role in terms of directing my teammates. I didn't have the biggest role in terms of what I actually did, but this did show off the Sovetsky Soyuz's insane durability, in spite of some rather intense focus fire by what was left of the ragtag team. When I'm top tier, I don't take very much damage at all from anything, and even when bottom tier as tier 9 can get anyway, the Sovetsky Soyuz is extremely tanky. Going over the game, popped a day of premium time with the campaign, and running some camos, so a nice amount of experience. grinding towards my Kreml. Should be about 60k off now, so pretty close. So 116,000 damage, over 47 shell hits. For shell hits, 18 penetrations and 29 over penetrations. So that's 15 penetrations and 3 citadels and 29 overpens. So a lot of overpens, but you'll see this with most battleships anyhow, so don't be too surprised. 23 planes shot down, this is definitely very above average, but the Enterprise did harass us with his attack squadrons somewhat ineffectually. We were lucky that he didn't score any heavy hits on us. Could have gone a lot worse, I assure you. So this is definitely an above average anti-aircraft performance. 3 kills, 3 citadels I mentioned, 1 solo capture, 1 assisted capture, 2 secondary hits, 3 spotting ribbons, and 2 planes shot down by fighter aircraft. Team score-wise, a conservative 2400 experience. I'm top tier, so I better carry it a damn game. 42 planes shot down on the Buffalo is also quite nice. Not as impressive because he is an AA ship against tier 7 planes on the Enterprise, but pretty good nevertheless. We go to the detailed score-wise. I only shot AP, even at the destroyers early on, only AP. Especially French destroyers because they saturate quite easily. I would consider not worth bothering to switch to HE for. Something like Jervis, however, if you do have time, switching to HE is fine. So, a bunch of damage on the line. Don't broadside in your British battleships anymore. Your citadel has been raised, so high penetration battleships will punish you. 13,000, just shy of 14,000 on the Le Terrible, and this is over 10 shells, so put your AP shells into destroyers. When you have Soviet dispersion, it is extremely amusing. Alaska and Helena that we engaged earlier, the York, which unfortunately suffered only overpens for the most part. Jervis also overpens, he's a destroyer. Mahan, so a lot of shooting DDs in this game. And so even though our damage is not overall particularly impressive, we do have a relatively good base experience because we did the right things. Anyhow, that was the Sovetsky Soyuz, an extremely powerful tier 9. Probably one of the better tier 9s out there right now, and probably the best tech tree tier 9, in my opinion, currently implemented into the game. And yeah. Just going over my captain build before we go. I am using Kuznetsov, as I mentioned. I have a 15-point captain in terms of utilized points. I'm at 17, but I'm only utilizing 15. So I'm using priority target. This is the spot torpedoes launched by destroyers and such. When the priority target number flickers, it indicates that you may be being torpedoed by a destroyer. This is followed by Adrenaline Rush and Jack of all trades. As I mentioned, the Sovetsky Soyuz has a rather impressive turret traverse. A stock traverse of 34.5 seconds for 180 degrees means that I can get away without taking expert marksman. This allows me to take the improved Jack of all trades on Kuznetsov, which gives 10% reduction to consumable time. Obviously excellent, since it improves both my heal cooldown and my damage control cooldown. Follow this up with Superintendent. I have limited charges on both damage control and heal, and 1 less heal than usual, you'll note. So Superintendent is very important, and basics of survivability, and fire prevention for my 4-pointer. In terms of skill order, probably PT, AR, SI, FP, BOS, and then Jack of all trades. With my last 4 points that are left, I have some options. I could amplify the AA. The Sovetsky Soyuz is pretty garbage AA, but its big sister, the Kremlin, at tier 10, has a rather impressive AA suite, so there's some consideration for that. I could also go back for Expert Marksman plus High Alert, which would be an interesting combination. It would give me an extremely short damage control cooldown, but it's rather niche in terms of the cases where you need to continuously put out your fires. This would bring my damage control cooldown down from 36 to probably around like 34. It has it's already taking 10% off, so 20%. So if 90% is 36, 36 divided by 9 is 4, so it's 40-second base, so 4 seconds off. So it'd actually bring it to 32 seconds, which is interesting. So there's that to consider. If I took BFT, I would probably take preventative maintenance. So the Soviet turrets are pretty durable, but they do still occasionally get knocked out. So that's obviously not. I could go for the bog standard concealment expert. A nice, safe, conservative skill choice. Needs no explanation. Increases your gap within which you can stealth fire per se, that is open fire from stealth. None of the other 3 pointers appeal to me that much. Vigilance is useful, but you should be able to control your torpedoes with just priority target and a bit of map awareness. Another choice would be radio location. As odd as it sounds, this is another anti-DT tool, and because you're so detectable anyway, the concealment is not going to go down by that much. Even if you take concealment expert and slap on another 10%, it's not going to improve your concealment rating by that much. You're still going to be pretty bad, probably GK levels. So radio location has some interesting utility. But overall, this is the build I would go. Concealment expert for the last 4 points if you're conservative. Just going over the armor. As you can see, 32mm plating. So it still does have the true 32mm plating common to all high-tier battleships at the bow and stern extremities. Oh, sorry, I know it's covering. Okay, could you not cover my fucking viewer, please? There we go. So 32 here, and it's uniformly both the lower hull sections and the stern itself, or aft. However, the middle section is a uniform 60mm plate, which resists most HE in the game, outside of IFHE Hindenburg, a very specialized anti-Soviet battleship build, which you don't see very much. This includes the Henry IV IFHE, which normally pens 50mm, which allows it to deal with Stalingrads and most of the German battleships. The only things that punch through this are supercruisers, so that's Alaska, Azuma, Yoshino, Stalingrad, and Kronstadt with their HE and battleships, obviously, so British battleships make short work of you. Still, superstructure not too extensive, but 19mm, and heavily armored plates. Of note, the belt, you'll note, extends up, so 60mm upper belt, and then 375mm upper belt sections and main belt sections. If I strip off the armor, you'll note the raised citadel is above the waterline and quite accessible, so if you show side, you will get punished. However, first it has to go through that 375mm angled belt, note the T-shape, so that's a bit more vulnerable at the waterline, and then beneath the waterline, it's a bit more recessed. But overall, it's an exposed citadel, so if you give broadside, you will be punished. Nevertheless, because of the heavy belt armor, 375mm, if you angle your belt, you're basically resistant to a lot of damage, and it has a 220mm cheek forward belt plate, which you can use similar to Moskva 50mm cheek to bounce shells. So there you have it. Sovetsky Soyuz, the naval legend herself. Truly a disgusting Tier 9 tech tree battleship. Hope you enjoyed. Cheers.